Where does Shedeur Sanders rank in Browns' QB depth chart after Kenny Pickett trade? Introduction. The Browns' eternal quarterback carousel. The Cleveland Browns have never had it easy when it comes to the quarterback position. For decades, the franchise has wrestled with instability under center, running through veterans, first-round picks, and stopgap solutions like a revolving door. Every season, the question comes back around: who's the quarterback of the future? In 2025, those questions haven't disappeared, but they've taken on a sharper edge. That's because the Browns entered the preseason with a quarterback room so crowded it looked like a convention, not a depth chart. Joe Flacco, the wily veteran, was the anchor. Kenny Pickett, the recent trade acquisition, was the supposed insurance. Dillon Gabriel, a third-round rookie from Oklahoma, was the developmental piece. And Shedeur Sanders, son of the legendary Deion Sanders, was the polarizing rookie whose fall in the draft, from projected first-round pick to fifth-rounder, made him the story to watch. But with one swift decision, Cleveland cut through the clutter. The Browns traded Kenny Pickett to the Las Vegas Raiders, a move that didn't just shift roster math, but also recalibrated the entire quarterback conversation. The domino effect? Suddenly, Shedeur Sanders is no longer the afterthought on the fringe. He is part of a three-man quarterback depth chart that will define Cleveland's 2025 season. The Kenny Pickett trade. A whirlwind ends in Las Vegas. Kenny Pickett's NFL journey has been nothing short of dizzying. Drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers, traded to the Philadelphia Eagles, flipped to the Cleveland Browns, and now rerouted to the Las Vegas Raiders. All in the span of 2 years. Adam Schefter summed it up with a sense of irony. Kenny Pickett has now been traded from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia, from Philadelphia to Cleveland, and from Cleveland to Las Vegas. His stop in Cleveland barely lasted a summer. Hamstrung by a grade 2 pull that kept him sidelined through the preseason, Pickett never got the chance to prove himself. The Browns couldn't justify holding on to 4 quarterbacks, especially with holes elsewhere on the roster. The Raiders, desperate for a veteran backup after Aiden O'Connell's wrist injury, made the call, shipping a 2026 fifth-rounder, the same pick Cleveland had initially spent to acquire him. For Cleveland, the move brought clarity. For Pickett, it was another relocation in a career that desperately needs stability. Joe Flacco, the bridge that holds. If there's one certainty in Cleveland, it's Joe Flacco. At 40, Flacco may not be the future, but he's the present. His Ironman reputation, steady hand, and poise in pressure situations have made him the undisputed Week 1 starter. Stefanski trusts him not because he's flashy, but because he's predictable. Strengths: experience, leadership, pocket presence. Weaknesses: limited mobility, not a long-term solution. Flacco isn't here to light up the stat sheet or to reignite his prime. He's here to stabilize the Browns' offense, to give Cleveland a chance in a division where the Bengals and Ravens are loaded with dynamic quarterbacks. His presence also buys the Browns' rookies valuable time. Dillon Gabriel, the steady climber. If Flacco is the anchor, Dillon Gabriel is the quiet riser. Drafted in the 3rd round, Gabriel arrived in Cleveland with lower expectations than Sanders, but he's been the one soaking up the most reps this preseason. His numbers tell the story: 272 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. More preseason snaps than any other Browns quarterback not named Flacco. Demonstrated accuracy on short routes and confidence running Stefanski's offense. Gabriel is raw, yes, but he's also reliable. Coaches love quarterbacks who are coachable, and Gabriel has shown a willingness to learn. The Browns spent legitimate draft capital on him, and that investment means he'll get every chance to succeed. Right now, Gabriel sits as the QB2, and it doesn't look like that's changing anytime soon. Shedeur Sanders, the wild card. Then comes Shedeur Sanders. No rookie in the Browns locker room has generated as much intrigue, debate, and scrutiny as Deion Sanders' son. His fall from a projected first-round pick to a fifth-rounder on draft day stunned analysts. The whispers about his media presence, his Colorado fame, and his NFL readiness became louder than his actual tape. But August gave fans a glimpse of what Shedeur brings. 152 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Calm decision-making under pressure. Red zone efficiency that made him stand out from other rookies. Yes, his total yardage ranks him only 55th among preseason quarterbacks. But context matters. He's played limited snaps, often behind makeshift defensive lines against vanilla defenses. What stood out isn't volume, it's efficiency. No turnovers, no panic, no wasted drives. That's exactly the kind of football Cleveland desperately needs after a patchy 2024 season plagued by miscues and inconsistency at quarterback. The depth chart where Shedeur stands now. With Pickett gone, Cleveland's quarterback order looks like this. Joe Flacco, a veteran starter. The bridge, the stabilizer. Dillon Gabriel, developmental QB with the franchise's draft investment. Shedeur Sanders, the surprise wild card. Efficient but still fighting for security. Deshaun Watson, injured. The long-term plan, sidelined with an Achilles injury. This is a depth chart built on 2 timelines. Short-term, Flacco carries the team, Gabriel backs him up, Sanders develops. Long-term, Watson eventually returns, with Gabriel and Sanders battling for survival. Shedeur's advantage, mistake-free football. What keeps Shedeur in the conversation is his mistake-free football. Coaches trust rookies who don't sabotage drives. Sanders may not have Gabriel's rep count or Flacco's veteran savvy, but he has the one trait Stefanski craves, ball security. In a division loaded with elite defenses, think TJ Watt in Pittsburgh or Roquan Smith in Baltimore, avoiding turnovers isn't a luxury, it's survival. Sanders' calm pocket presence and willingness to play within the offense give him an edge as a stabilizer. If Gabriel is the ceiling play, Sanders is the safety net. The Watson factor, a shadow over the room. Hovering over all of this is Deshaun Watson. The Browns still view Watson as their long-term answer. But after suffering an Achilles injury that derailed his 2024 season, and given his history of injuries, the organization has to prepare for uncertainty. If Watson returns and reclaims QB1 in 2026, the battle between Gabriel and Sanders will become about who sticks as the backup. If Watson falters or never regains form, then both rookies will be fighting for far more than a clipboard role. For Sanders, that's both the opportunity and the risk. What if Pickett had stayed? It's worth imagining the alternative. If the Browns had kept all 4 quarterbacks, the room would have looked like this. Flacco, QB1, unquestioned starter. Pickett, QB2, the backup veteran. Gabriel, QB3, developmental rookie. Sanders, QB4, fighting for scraps of playing time. In that scenario, Sanders would have been buried, possibly staring at a practice squad future. By trading Pickett, Cleveland didn't just regain draft capital, they gave Sanders breathing room. Now, he has a legitimate shot at live reps and development time. The Raiders side, why Pickett made sense. For Las Vegas, the trade was about desperation. Aiden O'Connell's preseason wrist injury left them exposed behind starter Geno Smith. Raiders head coach Pete Carroll emphasized the urgency. We needed a quarterback who's had game experience. Kenny gives us that. Pickett may not be a star, but he's battle-tested enough to stabilize a backup role. For the Raiders, that's a win. For Cleveland, it was addition by subtraction. Conclusion: Shedeur's tightrope walk. So, where does Shedeur Sanders rank in the Browns' depth chart after the Kenny Pickett trade? He's QB3, behind Joe Flacco and Dillon Gabriel. He's no longer buried, but he's not secure either. His efficiency and mistake-free play have bought him time, but not certainty. The Browns have taken a gamble. By cutting ties with Pickett, they've created room for Sanders to grow, but they've also placed pressure on him to prove that he isn't just a famous last name. For now, Shedeur Sanders has carved out a role, but the NFL doesn't stop moving. His margin for error is slim, and with the Browns eyeing the future, and the QB-heavy 2026 draft class, Every snap he takes in 2025 could determine whether he's part of the Browns' plan or just another quarterback passing through Cleveland's revolving door. One thing is certain, Shedeur's story is just beginning.